Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, just waiting for them to put the jail on.
All right.
Okay, can you hear me in the jail?
You sure can, Mark.
Excellent. We'll start with Fabian Herrera.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, we're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Fabian David Herrera file. Actually, I don't have a file number, so council appearance.
Yes, Assistant Public Defender Scott Nickel on behalf of Mr. Herrera.
Okay, you're Fabian Herrera?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Herrera, today's the date that's set for a arraignment. I have here a misdemeanor complaint that alleges that on or about September 2nd, 2022, at the area of 941 Dakin Street in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly in count one commit the act of domestic violence. It alleges that you did make an assault and battery upon a Delphina Earls, a resident or former resident of your household, or an individual with whom you had a dating relationship, and that this was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.812. That's a misdemeanor. The maximum penalty would be 93 days and/or $500 in fines, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Restitution is also possible, as this offense may have resulted in damage to another individual's property, physical injury, or death to another individual. There's also a second offense notice. It says, take notice that the defendant was previously convicted of assaulting and battering his or her spouse, former spouse, an individual with whom he or she had a dating relationship, an individual with whom he or she had a child in common, or a resident or former resident of his or her household, or of knowingly assaulting a pregnant individual by violating MCL 750.812 on or about October 25th, 2021, and therefore upon conviction will be subject to an enhanced sentence under Michigan Compiled Law 750.814. That enhances the sentence to a misdemeanor with a maximum penalty of 1 year and/or $1,000 in fines. Again, a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Mr. Herrera, do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty attached?
For the most part, yes, I'm still kind of confused. I guess the numbers and the abbreviations kind of get me confused.
Okay, what numbers are you referencing? Are you referencing the Michigan compile law number, or are you referencing the maximum penalty?
Yeah. I'm in here, you said for no contact order, right? And
This is, you're not here for, I did not mention anything about a no contact order. I said you're here for a domestic violence
okay.
that allegedly occurred yesterday, September 2nd, 2022 at 941 Dakin Street, City of Lansing, Ingham County. Now, I will say that you're likely to be getting a no contact order violation, because my understanding is that there was, or you are already on bond on another matter, and there was a no contact order protecting the victim, who was allegedly the victim in this matter as well. But I don't have that before me at this time.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
only have this new misdemeanor complaint that I just read to you. And so
Yes,
the
ma'am.
maximum penalty on this domestic violence, because there's a second offense notice, again, it's stated that you have previously been convicted on October 25th, 2021, so last October. And so it would enhance the maximum penalty on this one. And so on this one, you're facing a maximum penalty of 1 year in jail and or $1,000 in fines.
Oh, okay, that's why I got confused. That was the last one, and then this one right now. That's why I got confused with the October one. Okay, I understand now.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. And so you will, again, you may get a PA 53 violation issued by the judge who is assigned to that. And then if that's the case, you'll be arraigned on that at another time, okay?
Okay, I believe, Ms. Simmons, you are my judge, ma'am.
I believe I am too.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so at this point, we're going to advise you of your rights as it relates to this new file. So you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say, anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. You have the right to have a trial by jury, and you have the right to have the assistance of an attorney. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can request to have an attorney appointed to represent you at the expense of the public. Do you understand your rights so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is he requesting court appointed counsel?
He is requesting an appointed attorney, Your Honor.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, and so Mr. Herrera, you have the right to proceed to trial again in this matter. If you do proceed to trial, you have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to call witnesses to testify at trial, and you have the right to question, to see and to hear any of the witnesses that the prosecution calls. You have the right to remain silent at trial and not have silence be used to prove or imply that you're guilty. Do you understand those rights?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you have the right to have the prosecution prove each element of the charge being brought against you, and they have to prove each of the elements beyond a reasonable doubt. You also have the right to be considered for pretrial release from custody. We will address your bond in just a moment. For the purposes of his arraignment, is he pleading not guilty?
He would enter a not guilty plea, and we'd ask the matter be set for a pretrial.
Okay, very good. Your matter is set for a pretrial before Judge Tony Flores. It's going to be September 19, 2022 at 9:30 in the morning. Now that pretrial can be held via Zoom, so you can come in person, or if you have the ability to appear with video and audio with a good signal, you can do that pretrial via Zoom, okay?
And that's for this new one? That's who my judge is? Or can I just stay with you? So everything.
No, that's not how this works. It's a separate matter. And so this matter is assigned to Judge Flores, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so what's your current home address?
125 Smith Avenue, Lansing, Michigan, 48910.
Are you currently employed?
No, ma'am. Just lost my job.
And your phone number?
517-894-4174.
You're currently on probation or you're out on bond?
Currently on probation, out on bond.
Both?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So I was like, I didn't understand like how the different judge was working, because since I guess I think it was October, I think you said, that's you've been my judge, so I don't know, I just
Okay. You can address bond, Mr. Nickel.
Yes, Your Honor, I did have a chance to speak with Mr. Herrera. He does understand the nature of the charges and what he's here for. I would note that he does have an address to live at where the alleged victim in this case does not live. He looks like has not failed to appear for any court dates. I would ask the court to either set a PR bond or a reasonable 10% bond in these matters. I would also note, I guess for the court file and for Mr. Herrera, that the pending case has been transferred to Judge Ward as it is a intimate partner violence, domestic violence second. And I would believe that even though this case has been assigned to Judge Flores, it would likely be changed to Judge Ward once the court opens on Tuesday. So I'd suggest he look out for possible changes in his court dates.
Thank you. Okay. I've had an opportunity to review his prior criminal history. I recognize that he is currently on probation and that there was a PA 53 order in place protecting the alleged victim in this matter. And I think there is a threat to the alleged victim, and so personal recognizance bond is going to be denied. A bond will be issued in the amount of 5,000, 10% with GPS tether.
I gotta pay for tether and bond as well, or is tether is bond or something?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question.
Oh, I was asking, it was you said 5,000, 10%, and then what else?
And then if you are released, you have to be released with the GPS tether.
Oh, okay, that's part. Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem. While out on bond, you're not to have any contact directly or indirectly with Delphina Earls. You're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever she lives, works, or goes to school. You have to be at the address of 941 Dakin Street. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand what no communication directly or indirectly means?
I can't be around her in person. I can be within 1,500 feet of her. I just can't be around her
Indirect-
directly.
And indirectly means you can't have any communication either. That means you can't speak to her directly and you can't ask anyone to deliver a message on your behalf. You can't put a letter in the mail to her. You can't send a smoke signal. You can't slide into her DMs. There's no communication at all.
It's my wife,
Do you
ma'am.
understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Also, while out on bond, you're not to engage in any assaultive behavior of any kind. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to possess or purchase a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol or drugs unless you have a valid prescription. Do you have any questions about your bond conditions?
No, ma'am.
You need to make sure you appear to all of your court dates on time.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions at this time, sir? Any questions?
No, ma'am, not any at all. Is there gonna be a, with you, ma'am? I'm sorry, is there gonna be another court date set with you? Because you're my judge for my other one. For the
If you
probation.
have if you're on probation before me and that's the case that there was a no
Yes.
contact order for, then you will likely be getting a bond violation next week, okay?
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Do you have any other questions?
When do I have to put in to get a court date with you, or how does that work?
Nope, it's gonna be automatic. We'll make sure that you're notified.
Okay, so my probation officer is aware that I am here and everything?
Yes, your probation officer will find out about the incident, and they will request a violation.
Okay, I have no further questions, ma'am. Thank you very much for answering my questions.
No problem. Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
No, Your Honor.
You're all set, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Your Honor, you should have 2 more files unless you're doing those towards the end.
2 more for Mr. Herrera.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, 1 second, Mr. Herrera. Oh. Okay, it looks like there might be two PA-53s in this one, but I could.
Correct. He had a new domestic, two PA-53s. One was a new PA-53 and one was a warrant for PA-53.
Okay, sounds.
And then he had
On
a
the-
probation violation.
Okay, we're on the record in the file of the people of the state of Michigan versus Fabian David Herrera. This is file number 22-01727, council appearance.
Assistant Public Defender Scott Nickel on behalf of Mr. Herrera for arraignment today.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Herrera, in this file, you have two PA-53 violations. The first one here, I have a police report. It's dated for July 12, 2022. The allegations of that is that you violated your bond conditions by making contact directly with Delphina Rosemary Earls. So it looks like a PA-53 was issued on that, but I don't see where you were ever arraigned on that. Looks like you failed to appear, so a warrant was issued on that one. And then we have the new one, a new PA-53, and that would be from the alleged incident that I just arraigned you on September 2nd, 2022. Also allegations that you were in the area of 941 Dakin Street, City of Lansing, and that you allegedly assaulted Delphina Earls. And that would be in violation of your conditional release on this file. So you have the right to have a contested hearing on these violations, and you have the right to be represented by counsel. I believe you are represented by counsel on this matter already. And so you would have the right to have a hearing on these matters. If you're found to be in violation of your bond conditions, you would be in contempt of the court order, which means you're facing up to 93 days in jail on each of these for contempt, as well as up to $7,500 for contempt of court. Do you understand that, sir?
Okay, those two, one, because I was around her, right? Or
One,
on
the
July-
allegation, one of one of them, the one from July, the allegation is that you violated your bond conditions in July by violating the personal protection order and that you were at her home. Then there was another, it does state also in this police report that you allegedly punched her. But then there was also a new violation. That's the case that we just arraigned you on. So there's two violations on this file. You understand that?
Yeah. Okay, the
Okay.
one I have now and the one you just told me where she's, okay, yeah.
Okay. So again, do you have any questions about the maximum penalty that you're facing on the violations?
No, ma'am.
Your bond can also be revoked by the judge due to the violations if you're found to be guilty of those violations, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So, Judge, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know I have a lot of questions. I'm sorry. Can you, when we're done with this, can you just give me tell me a list of everything I'm here for? Just so I could remember that list in my head.
I
I have
can do
memory
my
problems.
best to give
Thank
you
you.
everything that you're here for here.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think you have 3 separate files. I think there's one more file after this, okay?
Okay,
This one is, now this particular case that we're discussing now, this is the one that you're before Judge Ward on, okay?
okay,
And you have 2 violations on that one. I'm going to remand you. And you'll see her next week. I'm not going to issue a bond on that. And then she can address your bond violations, okay?
okay.
And I'll enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf at this time. On that matter.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. This is my file here, the people of the state of Michigan versus Fabian Herrera, file number is 21-02690. Can I have your appearance on this one?
Sorry. Yes, Assistant Public Defender Scott Nickel on behalf of Mr. Herrera for arraignment this morning.
Okay, Mr. Herrera, you were supposed to be before the court, it looks like. On the 19th of July, and you failed to appear.
That was supposed to be in
Warrant
court?
was issued. Yes. You're supposed to be before me. Because
You?
you had, yes, it looks like you had a new violation that you were arraigned on.
Yeah, you sent me home on bond that day.
Okay, looks like you got a new violation though. It says here on July 11th, I signed for new violations. The violations allege that you failed to adhere to the no contact order on or about July 2nd, 2022. It alleges that you were in possession of alcohol beverages on or about July 6th, 2022. It alleges that you failed to enroll in the batter's intervention program at PAT as ordered by the court. It also alleges that you failed to provide verification of the 12-step meeting attendance that you were supposed to bring. I think the last time we discussed that was on July 5th. You were supposed to provide that. And so the allegations is that you have further violated your probation status based on those allegations. And you were supposed to be before the court for arraignment on that on July 19th. You did not appear. So that was why you had a warrant on that one. But you're likely to, as I told you before, you're likely to get another violation on this simply because of the new case that you were arraigned on today. Okay, sir?
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so for these violations, you have the right to have a contested hearing. You have the right to be represented by counsel at the contested hearing. You have the right to have evidence brought forth for the prosecution and the probation department to establish their burden that you did violate your probation as they're alleging. If you are found to be in violation of probation, your probation status can be revoked. And you can be sentenced to a term of jail time. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Your probation also could be extended, or you could face some additional sanctions. Those are all possible sentences for your violation of probation.
Yes, ma'am.
So I will enter a plea of not guilty on this one as well, and then we'll set this one for a hearing on the probation violation.
Yes, ma'am.
And you'll get that date in the mail. Do you have any questions about what you have pending right now?
Yeah,
Okay, you got a new one before Judge Flores. You have 2 probation violations before Judge Ward, and then you have 1 probation violation pending before me. Okay,
okay. Okay.
any additional questions?
How many, okay, the assaults, I'm here for that, right, or something?
I'll
sorry?
help them.
Okay, yeah, she can help me. I'm confused, but thank you very much, ma'am. I appreciate you taking your time.
Thank you. You're all set.
Yes, ma'am. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Same to you.
We're gonna remand on that file.
He's getting a remand on Judge Ward's file.
Okay,
I'm gonna PRM on my file.
all right, thank you.
Thank you. Luis Martinez. You, Mr. Luis Martinez.
Yes.
We're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Luis Orlando Martinez, file number 22-02344 SM, council appearance.
Assistant Public Defender Scott Nickel on behalf of Mr. Martinez for arraignment today.
Okay, and Mr. Martinez, today was the date that your arraignment was reset. Looks like you were supposed to be arraigned yesterday, but you were unable or not in the condition to be arraigned. I have here a felony complaint. It alleges that on or about September 2nd, 2022, at the area of 408 East Michigan Avenue in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly in count 1 commit the act of assault with a dangerous weapon, also known as felonious assault. It alleges that you did make an assault upon a Charles Martel with a dangerous weapon, that being a motor vehicle, but without intending to commit the crime of murder or to inflict great bodily harm less than the crime of murder. This was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.82. This is a felony, and the maximum penalty is 4 years and or $2,000 in fines. Your DNA is to be taken upon arrest, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under Michigan Compiled Law 750.506A if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. There's a count 2 of assault with a dangerous weapon, also a felonious assault. This one alleges that you did make an assault upon an Ernest Beasley with a dangerous weapon, that being a motor vehicle, and that you did so without intending to commit the crime of murder or to inflict great bodily harm less than the crime of murder. This is contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.82. Again, that's a felony with a maximum penalty of 4 years and or $2,000 in fines. DNA to be taken upon arrest, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. There's a count 3 of operated while intoxicated. It alleges that you did operate a vehicle upon a highway, that being Michigan Avenue, while under the influence of alcoholic liquor or having an alcohol content of 0.08 grams or higher per 100 milliliters of blood, and that this is contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 257.6251. It says, notice this offense resulted in damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual. This is a misdemeanor, and the maximum penalty is 93 days and or $100 to $500 in fines and or 360 hours of community service, rehabilitative programs, vehicle and mobilization mandatory with a prior, and cost of prosecution and reimbursement to government for emergency response and expenses for prosecuting the defendant. Mr. Martinez, do you understand the charges and the maximum penalty associated with those charges?
Yes.
Okay. You have the right to be represented by counsel. You are represented today by Mr. Nickel from the Office of the Public Defender. You have the right, he's here only for the purposes of your arraignment today, and you have the right to have an attorney to provide assistance of counsel at each stage of the criminal prosecution. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, but you economically qualify, you can request to have an attorney appointed at the expense of the public. Is he requesting court-appointed counsel?
He is requesting appointed counsel.
Mr. Martinez, you have the right to remain silent Anything you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty, you have the right to plead not guilty, and you have the right to stand mute. You have the right in this matter to proceed to a preliminary examination. At the time of preliminary examination, you have the right to have the prosecution bring sufficient evidence to prove each element of the charges being brought against you. I'm sorry, they have to bring sufficient evidence to prove that they have probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause to charge you with the crime at the time of preliminary examination. Do you understand your preliminary examination rights?
Yes.
If this matter is to be bound over and proceed to a trial, you then have the right to have a jury trial. At the time of jury trial, you have the right then to have the prosecution prove each element of the charge being brought against you. They have to prove each element then beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to question any of the witnesses that the prosecution intends to call. You have the right to call your own witnesses or present evidence at trial that you believe would further a defense.
Okay. Thank you.
You have the right to remain silent at trial and not have silence be used to prove or imply that you're guilty. Do you understand those rights, sir?
Yes.
You also have the right to be considered for pretrial release from custody. You're currently scheduled for probable cause conference before Judge Cynthia Ward on Friday, September 16, 2022 at 8 o'clock in the morning. You have a preliminary examination before Judge Ward Friday, September 23rd at 2022 at 8:30 in the morning. Now, your probable cause conference that can be held via Zoom or you can appear in person. Your exam, however, if you are going to have a preliminary examination, that will be in person at the court. Did you get a copy of your notice to appear?
Do I got what?
Did you get a copies of your notices to appear?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. Okay. What's your current home address?
542 Isabel, INC, Michigan, 48910, area code.
Are you currently employed?
No, this is gonna be, as a sorry,
What's your phone number?
517-894-5570.
Can you repeat that for me?
517-894-5570.
Okay. For the purposes of his arraignment, the court will enter a plea of not guilty on his behalf. That's correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, well. I'm assuming because he was supposed to be arraigned yesterday, they didn't give a CCH. I don't have his CCH, but you can address to a court on bond.
Yes, Your Honor. I did have a chance to speak with Mr. Martinez. He noted that he has lived in the Lansing area for 18 years. I ran him through iChat, which the only thing that appears on it is a prior disturbing the peace charge that he got fines and costs for. And from looking at that file, it appears that he did not miss any of the court dates while that case was pending. I understand this is quite a more serious charge, but it does appear that he does appear at his court dates, takes care of the matters, and can comply with bond conditions. So I'd ask the court to release Mr. Martinez on a personal recognizance bond, as he receives SSI, and any financial bond would result in him being likely held for the pendency of the case.
Okay, thank you. Again, I indicated I don't have a copy of his CCH. I don't know if he has any prior convictions. Are you currently on probation or on parole, sir?
No,
We have 2 counts here of felonious assault with a vehicle here. The allegations alone will cause the court to believe that there is a threat to the public safety. Although he is on SSI, that's not a balancing factor that the court takes into consideration when factoring whether or not there's a threat to the public safety. So the court's not going to grant a personal recognizance bond at this time. Bond will be set at 5,000, 10%. While out on bond, you're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol, marijuana, or any other controlled substance unless you have a valid prescription. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes,
Okay, you're not to engage in any assaultive or any threatening behavior. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. Not to purchase or possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of the lease. I am going to issue a no contact order for the alleged victims in this matter. There'll be a no contact order directly or indirectly with either Ernest Beasley or Charles Martel. You have to be within 1,500 feet of wherever they live, work, or go to school. Do you understand that?
yes,
Do you understand what no contact directly or indirectly means?
yes, I do.
Okay. Not to be at any bars or nightclubs while out on bond. Do you have any questions about that?
No.
Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
Nothing further for the record at this time.
Okay, unless you have any questions for me, Mr. Martinez, you're all set.
Your Honor, if I may, would you mind seeing Miss McKenzie Charvat next? She's not feeling well.
No problem.
Thank you very much. Just
Hello.
Hello, give me just a moment while I find your file.
Okay.
We were on the record in the matter, the people of the state of Michigan versus McKenzie Lakota Marie Charvat. Council appearance.
This is Assistant Public Defender Scott Nickel on behalf of Ms. Charvat for arraignment today.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me, Ms. Charvat?
Yes.
Okay, today's the date that's set for arraignment. I have a misdemeanor complaint that alleges that on or about September 2nd, 2022, at the area of 2120 Webster Street, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did allegedly, contrary to law, commit the act in count 1 of domestic violence. It alleges that you did make an assault or assault and battery upon a Ross Reiber, an individual with whom you had a child in common, or an individual with whom you have a dating relationship, and that this was done contrary to Michigan compiled law 750.812. Restitution is possible as this offense may have caused damage to another individual's property or physical injury, or it may have resulted in death to another individual. This is a misdemeanor. The maximum penalty is 93 days in jail and/or $500 in fines, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty, ma'am?
Yes.
You have the right to be represented by counsel. Mr. Nichol is here today from the Office of the Public Defender to represent you for the purposes of your arraignment only. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can request to have an attorney appointed to represent you during each stage of the criminal prosecution. Do you understand your right to attorney?
Yes.
Is she requesting court-appointed counsel?
She is requesting an appointed attorney.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Charvat, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything that you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You have the right to plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. You have the right to proceed to a trial in this matter. You have the right to have a jury trial. At the time of trial, you have the right to call witnesses and present evidence that you believe would further a defense of the charge. You have the right to hear, question any of the witnesses the prosecution intends to call. You have the right to remain silent at trial and not have silence be used to prove or imply that you're guilty. You have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. You
Okay.
have the right to have each element of the charge being brought against you proved by the prosecution beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you have questions about any of those rights?
No.
Okay. You experiencing some pain?
Yes.
Okay. Are you currently employed?
No. I'm a stay-at-home mother.
What's your current home address?
That's difficult to say. I just moved out of 803 Pine Street in DeWitt, Michigan, but I just moved into the address where it happened, the 2120 Webster Street.
Okay. Where are you gonna stay during the pendency of this matter?
What was that?
Where can you stay while this matter is pending? Because you can't stay wherever the victim is staying.
My mother's.
And what's that address?
I don't honestly know. I know it's 14 something Indiana Avenue. My hands are.
Is that in Lansing?
Yes.
What's your phone number?
517-647-9646.
You're currently scheduled for a pretrial conference before Judge Stacia Buchanan on September 26, 2022 at 10:30 in the morning. You can appear in person or you can appear via Zoom. Did you get a copy of your notice to appear?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
The court will enter a plea. Okay, very good. The court will enter a plea of not guilty on her behalf at this time. You can address the bond, sir.
Yes, I did have a chance to speak with Ms. Charvat this morning. As she's already noted, she is a stay-at-home mother. She has 2 children. She is currently pregnant with a 3rd. She can live with her mother in the Lansing area while this case is pending. And it appears that this is the first entry on her criminal record, so she has no prior record and would therefore have no prior history of failing to appear for court. I ask the court release her on a personal recognizance bond at this time.
Now grant the request for personal recognizance bond. Bond will be set at $500 personal recognizance. While out on bond, ma'am, you're not to be in contact directly or indirectly with Ross Reiber. Do you understand that?
Do you know for how long?
Well, this case, the entirety of the case,
Oh, yes.
until there's no longer a no contact order.
And that's, the case is on September 22nd?
Well, your pretrial is on September 22nd, but this matter can potentially proceed to a trial. And
Oh,
so until the court removes the no contact order, you are not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever Mr. Ryber lives, works, or goes to school. You're not to be in contact directly or indirectly. You're not to assault, harass, intimidate, beat, molest, wound, or threaten Mr. Ryber. Do you understand that?
yes.
Okay.
How would
You need to
I,
make sure.
oh, sorry.
Okay, you had a question?
Yes. He has my children currently, and I need to get them back when I get out of here. How do I make no contact and grab my children?
You're gonna need to
And-
make other arrangements, and if you need to engage the family court, feel free to do that, but there's a no contact order issued from this court due to the pending domestic violence, okay?
I'll discuss it with her. We'll go.
Okay,
Okay. You need to make sure you appear to all of your future court dates on time. You're not to use or possess any alcohol or drugs unless you have a valid prescription. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You cannot travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. Do you have any questions about your bond conditions?
no, this bond mean I have to get it paid by a certain day?
I'll discuss all that.
I don't.
I'm sorry? Are you okay, ma'am?
I don't know. My hands are, they went from tingly to completely numb, and my fingers are going in all sorts of different directions.
We're gonna deal with that.
Okay, it sounds like they'll get you some medical attention. Did you have any questions before you were released?
I don't think so.
Okay, you're all set then, ma'am. Hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. So,
Thanks, Your Honor, for that.
No problem. Christian Daniel Margozian. On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Christian Daniel Margozian, counsel appearance.
Assistant Public Defender Scott Nickel on behalf of Mr. Margozian for arraignment today.
And you're Mr. Christian Margozian.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Margozian, today's the date set for an arraignment. I have a misdemeanor complaint that alleges that on or about September 2nd, 2022, at the area of 2905 South Catherine Street, located in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly, contrary to law, commit the act in count 1 of assault and battery. It says that you did make an assault or an assault and battery upon a person by the name of Kathy Lipp. This was contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.811. Restitution is possible as this offense may have resulted in damage to another individual's property, physical injury, or death to another individual. This is a misdemeanor. The maximum penalty is 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty, sir?
Yes.
Margozian, you're represented by Mr. Nickel today for your arraignment only, but you have the right to have assistance of counsel at each stage of the criminal prosecution. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can request to have counsel appointed at the expense of the public. Do you understand your right to counsel?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. He's requesting court-appointed counsel.
He is.
Please, Mr. Margozian, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say, and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You have the right to plead not guilty, and then you have the right to stand mute. You have the right in this matter to proceed to a trial, and you have the right to have a jury trial. At the time of trial, you have the right to be represented by counsel. You have the right to remain silent and not have silence be used to imply that you're guilty or to prove that you're guilty. You have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to question any of the witnesses that the prosecution intends to call. You have the right to call your own witnesses or present evidence at trial that you believe would further a defense to the charge. And you have the right to have the prosecution prove each element of the charge being brought against you. They have to prove each element beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand that?
Yes.
For the purposes of his arraignment, how would you like to plead?
We would enter a not guilty plea at this time.
Okay, Mr. Margozian, what's your current home address?
2905 South Catherine Street.
You say your home address is 2905 South Catherine?
Yes.
Okay, and is that where Ms. Lip lives?
Yes.
Okay, well, you're not gonna be able to live there during the pendency of this case. Where are you gonna stay?
I'll stay at the VOA. Yes, sir.
Are you currently on probation or parole?
Probation,
For which court?
55th.
Are you currently employed?
No.
What's your phone number?
I don't have a phone.
You're currently scheduled for a pretrial conference before me, Judge Kristen Simmons. It's gonna be September 20th at 9:30 in the morning. You can appear in person at the court, okay?
Thank you.
Just give me that week sheet.
Do you have a copy of your notice to appear?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any questions at this time?
No.
What is he on probation for?
Looks like he's on probation for a disorderly conduct charge.
Okay. You can address bond.
Yes, Your Honor, I would note that Mr. Margozian seems to understand that he is gonna have a no contact order and he cannot reside in the house. He does have a criminal record, although he did not report to me any failures to appear for any court hearings. He is on probation in front of 55th, but that is for a disorderly conduct charge. I'd ask the court to consider setting either a personal recognizance bond or a low 10% bond at this time.
The bond will be set in the amount of 2,010%. While out on bond, you need to make sure you appear to all of your court dates on time. I'm going to order that you participate in a substance abuse monitoring while out on bond.
Ma'am,
Yes,
I've been in the middle of trying to get my section 8 right now. I'm supposed to get it this week. Is there any way you could consider a PR bond, please? I'm getting my section 8 finally this week. And I'm gonna have to be there with CMH.
you have a CMH worker already?
Yes,
What's their name?
my caseworker is Quintina Bolliford.
What day do you have an appointment with them?
It would be Thursday.
I'll amend the bond to personal recognizance. You're still ordered to participate in a substance abuse monitoring while out on bond.
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to be required to participate in preliminary breath testing and your analysis once a week.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Also, while out on bond, you're not to use, purchase, or possess any drugs or alcohol unless you have a valid prescription. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You cannot travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. I'm issuing a no contact order protecting Kathy Lip. You're not to have contact directly or indirectly with Kathy Lip. You're not to be within 1,500 feet of where Lip lives, works, or goes to school. You're not to enter into the address of 2905 South Catherine Street. You're not to purchase or possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
need to make sure you have all your court dates on time. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have any questions
No, thank you.
about your bond conditions?
No. I
Any additional
understand.
matters for the record?
Nothing further for the record, Your Honor.
You're all set, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Six months.
Theodore Elam. On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Theodore Elam, file, I'm sorry, I don't have a file number, council appearance.
Yes, Assistant Public Defender Scott Nickel on behalf of Mr. Elam for arraignment today.
Thank you. Are you Theodore Elam?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Today's the date that's set for an arraignment. I have a misdemeanor complaint here, and it alleges that on or about September 3rd, 2022, at the area at 4202 Birchfield Drive, located in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly in count one commit the act of malicious destruction of a building, $200 or more, but less than $1,000. It alleges that you did willfully and maliciously destroy or injure a building or its appurtenances located at 4202 Birchfield Drive, and that belonged to a Naomi Riley, and the amount of destruction or injury was $200 or more, but less than $1,000. This is contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.3804A. That's a misdemeanor, and the maximum penalty is 1 year and or $2,000 in fines, or 3 times the amount of destruction or injury, whichever is greater. There's a count 2, assault or assault and battery, that alleges that you did make an assault or an assault and battery upon the person of Travis Seymour, and that this was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.81. Restitution is possible, as this offense may have resulted in damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual. That's a misdemeanor. The maximum penalty is 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. There's a count 3 of assault or assault and battery. The allegations is that you made an assault or an assault and battery upon the person of Christina Seymour. This was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.811. Restitution again is likely, as this may have resulted in damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual. That's a misdemeanor, sir, and the maximum penalty is 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Lastly, there's a count 4 of breaking and entering illegal entry without the owner's permission. That alleges that you did enter with or without breaking a certain building or structure, to wit being a residence located at 4202 Birchfield Drive, whether occupied or unoccupied, without first obtaining permission to enter from the owner or occupant, agent, or person having immediate control thereof. This was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.115. Restitution may result as there may have been damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual. This is a misdemeanor, and the maximum penalty there is 90 days in jail and or $500 in fines. Do you understand the charges read there in the 4 counts and the maximum penalty there, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the right to be represented by counsel, and Mr. Nichols is here to represent you for the purposes of your arraignment only. You have the right to have an attorney with you to represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can request to have an attorney represent you at the expense of the public. Do you understand your right for assistance of counsel?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he requesting court-appointed counsel?
He is, Your Honor.
You have the right to remain silent, Mr. Elam. Anything you say and anything that you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You have the right to plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. You have the right to proceed to a trial in this matter, and you have the right to have a jury trial. At the time of trial, you have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to question any of the witnesses that the prosecution intends to call. You have the right to call your own witnesses or present evidence at trial that you believe would further a defense to the charge. You have the right to remain silent at trial and not have silence be used to imply or prove that you're guilty. You have the right to have the prosecution prove each element of each of the charges that they're bringing against you, and they have to prove each element beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand your right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
For the purposes of his arraignment, is he pleading not guilty?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Are you currently employed, Mr. Elam?
No, ma'am.
What's your home address?
400 East Miller Road, Lansing, Michigan, 48911.
What's your phone number?
313-806-4226.
You're currently scheduled for a pretrial conference before Judge Cynthia Ward on September 20th, 2022 at 10 o'clock in the morning. That can be held via Zoom or you can appear in person. Did you get a copy of that notice to appear and her Zoom instructions?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you currently on probation or parole?
No, ma'am.
You can address Mr. Nickel.
Yes, I did have a chance to speak with Mr. Elam. He's been living in the Lansing area for the past 6 years at that East Miller address. He is a retired veteran of the military. He reports he's never had a history of failing to appear for any court proceeding. It does appear he has an address separate from where the alleged victims in this case live, that he can reside. And I have no reason to believe he will not make his court dates. I would ask the court consider releasing him on a personal recognizance bond with appropriate conditions that the court feels are necessary.
I don't see any recent convictions or assaultive convictions on his criminal history. I'll grant the request for a personal recognizance bond. Bond will be set in the amount of 1,000. Personal recognizance. You need to make sure you appear for all of your court dates, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Also, while out on bond, you're not to use, purchase, or possess drugs or alcohol unless you have a valid prescription. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You are not to have any contact directly or indirectly with the alleged victims in this matter, Travis and Christina Seymour. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
You're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever they are. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
You're not to enter the premises at 4202 Birchfield Drive.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions about your bond conditions?
No, ma'am.
You're also not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. Any questions?
Yes, ma'am. I do have just one. The Naomi Riley, that was my fiance. Okay, but anyway, we shared that house and mine too. She can't come over to my house either then. Would that be correct?
You said who?
Naomi Riley, that's my fiance, where it was anyway. So, but she can't come to my house because we were sharing the two houses. I mean, I live by myself and she lived by herself. So she's not allowed, well, okay, I know I'm not allowed over there, so okay, I got it.
Uh, yeah, I actually did not issue a no contact for Naomi Riley, but I am going to do so at this point because I do see that that was a
Yeah.
property belonging to Naomi Riley.
Right,
So
thank
yeah,
you,
you
ma'am.
would be correct. You would be correct. You're not to be within 1,500 feet of Naomi Riley either. Do you understand that?
Right, yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. Any
I
other
hope she
questions?
didn't, no, ma'am, no, ma'am.
Okay. Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
Nothing further for the record, Your Honor.
You're all set, sir.
Thank you.
Michael McPhee. Are you Michael McPhee?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, we're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Michael McPhee, file number 21-00502 FY, council appearance.
Yes, Assistant Public Defender Scott Nickel on behalf of Mr. McPhee for arraignment today.
Okay, Mr. McPhee, today was the date that's set for an arraignment. This case has been in warrant status for over a year. You were arraigned back in February of 2021 on 2 counts. One count was a weapons carrying concealed, alleging that you did carry a dangerous weapon, to a pistol, whether concealed or otherwise, in a vehicle operated or occupied by said defendant, that being a Dodge Magnum, contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.227. That was a felony, maximum penalty 5 years or $2,500 in fines, mandatory forfeiture of the weapon or devices required. There was a count 2 of weapons, firearms possession by felon, alleging that you did possess and or carry a firearm when ineligible to do so because you had been convicted of operating while intoxicated. Third offense, a felony punishable of imprisonment of 4 or more years, and the requirements for regaining eligibility had not yet been met, contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.224F. That's a felony, and the maximum penalty is 5 years and or $5,000 mandatory forfeiture or weapon of device is required. This allegedly occurred back on February 19th, 2021 at the area of Cedar and Edgewood, City of Lansing, Elam County, State of Michigan. You were before the court, it looks like on March 4th, 2021, you pled not guilty. And I'm sorry, on February 20th, you pled not guilty. You were arraigned and you were provided dates for which you would have a preliminary examination, and looks like that examination had to be rescheduled. It was rescheduled for June 3rd, 2021, and you failed to appear and a warrant was issued. Did you forget about your court date?
Yeah, I believe I thought it was rescheduled on the 3rd of June too.
It was rescheduled. It was rescheduled for the 3rd of June, and you never
All right.
came. But if you thought it was rescheduled beyond that, at what
Yeah.
point were you going to contact the court to find out what date it was rescheduled to?
I'm just trying to figure things out like that now, ma'am. After this incident, I became homeless. My vehicle was stolen. That Dodge Magnum was stolen, ended up in Florida. And I moved to Flint. I live in Mount Morris now.
Okay. Well, this matter is now going to be scheduled before Judge Flores for a preliminary examination. Well, you'll get a probable cause conference at this point and a preliminary examination. It looks like previously, Mr. Nichol, his request for court-appointed counsel was denied. Did he request new, or did he submit a new request? Because our record shows that he does not have court-appointed counsel.
So it looks like originally it was denied. Then it was updated and refiled. So he did have Mr. Sartz from our office. And I have confirmed with him that none of the financial information that would affect that decision is changed. So he will likely continue to be represented by our office.
Okay, sounds good. I don't have any dates to provide at this time, but you'll get those soon. What's your home address, sir?
It's 1119 West Klein Street. And that's Mount Morris, Michigan, 48458.
It's Klein, C-L-I-N-E, or with a K?
That's with a K, man.
Okay.
Donna.
And what's your phone number?
Area code 810-345-2354.
Are you currently employed?
Yes, I work, I'm state certified in collision repair, and I work with car dealerships to do work on their vehicles. And I also attend my community college.
You can address bond counsel.
Yes, Your Honor, I did have a chance to speak with Mr. McPhee. He does understand he missed that court date. And as he explained, shortly after the incident happened and he was released, he did end up homeless and without a good way to contact people for a little while. He has now reestablished an address. He has the ability to get to and from Mount Morris and Lansing. It's my understanding that he just purchased a car and will be getting insurance and registration on that car taken care of on Tuesday. So he will have transportation. I understand the amount of time he's been gone, but he is here today and knows about the court date. I'd ask the court to consider allowing him to be released on a PR bond, if not, a low 10% bond, so he can have the opportunity to be out while this case proceeds.
I'm not inclined to grant a personal recognizance bond. He's demonstrated to the court that he will not reasonably ensure his reappearance before the court. Now he lives even further away than he did at the time of the original incident. To go a year, and I recognize life comes up and he was homeless and maybe someone stole his car, but he knew he had a very serious charge pending and he never thought to follow up with the court in almost a year and a half. Or with his attorney. I bet you he made contact with other people during that year and a half, but that court wasn't a priority. And so I don't think that I can release him on his own recognizance and believe that he would return to court for his next available court date, especially when I don't even know when his next available court date is to give it to him now. So I have to rely on it getting to him through the mail. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have to issue a 10% bond, and maybe if that'll cause him to pay more attention to his legal affairs. Bond will be set in the amount of 2,010%. You need to make sure that you appear for all of your future court dates. You're going to have a probable cause conference, which you would be able to appear via Zoom once you get that date. Your preliminary examination, however, if you're going to run that exam, you need to appear in person. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. The paperwork I have here has a different address, so I have to make sure that the system is updated with this 1119 West Klein, Mount Morris. address because there was a Garland Street address on this paperwork that was sent to me.
That,
So we want to make
Your Honor,
sure.
I'm sorry, that was when I was homeless, that was the homeless shelter I stayed in Flint.
Okay, okay, so yeah, that's the address they put in the paperwork, but we want to make sure we have the correct address because we want to make sure that your notice to appear is sent to the appropriate address. If for some reason, because things happen with mail, and you don't get a notice to appear within the next 7 days, what's your responsibility, sir?
Contacting the court and showing up to whenever they schedule the court.
Right. You're gonna want to contact the court and find out what happened to your notice to appear and when you're supposed to appear. You also should be in contact with Mr. Sartz before then, to discuss your case, okay?
If that is my public defender, Your Honor, Mr. Swords.
Mr. Sartz, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Do you have any questions today?
No, ma'am.
Okay, any additional matters for the record?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, the original bond conditions from your original PA 53 will also be applied on this one. You're all set.
All right, thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Daniel Trevor Austin. Okay, we're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Daniel Trevor Austin. File number is 22-02257 FY. Have your appearance, please.
Yes, Assistant Public Defender Scott Nickel on behalf of Mr. Austin for arraignment today.
Okay, you're Daniel Austin.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Austin, today's the date that was set for an arraignment on a PA 53 violation, also known as the violation for your conditional release. It alleges that you have violated the conditions of your bond. Looks like you were before Magistrate Milmore on August 24th, and she issued a no contact order for a Brian Hagler, and that you were not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever Brian Hagler lived, worked, or goes to school. I have here a police report dated for September 2nd, 2022 at 1:41 p.m. It alleges that you were located at the address of 425 South Fairview, which is the house where the protected party lives, which was also the address you were not supposed to be within 1,500 feet. So that's in violation of your bond conditions. And so you have the right to have a contested hearing on the allegation that you violated your release from jail. And
I live at 425 Fairview.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, sir.
I'm sorry, but I lived at 425 Fairview, but I have somewhere else to go.
Uh, 425 Fairview says where you were located and that you're not supposed to be within 1,500 feet of where the protected party is, and that's at 427. So you say you live at 425?
Yes, I'm just moving out of 425. I don't live there no more.
Okay, and did you tell Magistrate Milmore that you lived there at the time?
Yes, I did.
I see that that's on your PA 53. I don't know why they didn't catch that. And you told her, no, I guess she didn't catch it. That's two separate houses that appear to be probably across the street or two houses down. Nonetheless, you have the right to have a contested hearing on the violation. You have the right to be represented by counsel at that hearing, and you are represented, I believe, by counsel on the underlying matter. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. If you're found to be in violation of your bond conditions, sir, you could be subject to having your bond revoked, and you can be sentenced or to a fine of up to $7,500 or to 93 days in jail. However, I don't have a hearing date for you at this point. We can get you a hearing date. I'm trying to see who your matter is set for. Which court is your matter pending before?
So which court?
Who's your judge?
I think her name is Cynthia or something. I forgot my judge's name. I really did.
Judge Ward?
I think that's who it is. I don't remember. Ma'am, I really cannot remember.
Okay.
Your Honor, it appears that the case is in front of Judge Flores.
Okay.
Okay. Were you before Judge Flores yesterday?
Yesterday, they had, my court date had got pushed back because I didn't accept the plea that they was trying to give me. So my court date has been pushed back to, I think the 9th, or something like that.
Okay, so that's probably your exam date, but yesterday you should have had a probable cause conference. Okay.
Yes, but
I'm
they
gonna enter a plea-
waived
I'm
it.
going to enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf for the violation. And then I'll leave it to Judge Flores if he wants to set it for a hearing. I am going to go and hear, how long are you going to be residing at 425 South Fairfield? You say you're in the process of moving?
I'm already moved. I moved with my auntie, but I stay with my girlfriend too.
At what address?
I forgot her address. It's an apartment right there on Pennsylvania, but I live at my address for my auntie is 1116 North, 1112 Lenore Street. I'm sorry.
Okay, so
That's on the
were
south
you
side.
renting? Is your name on the lease at 425 South Fairview?
No, I was just staying with my dad, helping him pay rent, giving him food
Okay, that's
stamps.
your dad, that's your father's house. Okay.
Yes, and I'm also in CMH program too as well.
Okay, but you're not going to be at 425 going forward so that you won't
No.
have a violation of the no contact? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not gonna be there. I'm not gonna be there at all.
Okay,
And plus I have a job orientation today. And I also have another job too. I have 2 jobs.
okay. I'm gonna release you on a $500 personal recognizance bond. All your previous bond conditions will continue. There's a no contact order protecting Mr. Hagler. You're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever he lives, works, or goes to school.
I don't want no problems with him. I'm staying away.
Okay. Any additional matters for the record?
No, Your Honor.
We're all set, sir. Anthony Eugene Miller II.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Anthony Eugene Miller II. Council appearance.
Yes, Assistant Public Defender Scott Nickel on behalf of Mr. Miller for arraignment today.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Miller, today's the date that was set for an arraignment. I have here a misdemeanor complaint alleging that you committed an assault and battery on the date of September 3rd, 2022 in the area of 5312 South Waverly, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan. The allegation is that you committed an assault and battery upon a Dakota Burke, contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.812. Restitution is possible as this offense may have resulted in damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual. This is a misdemeanor and the maximum penalty is 93 days in jail and or $500 and fines, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Do you understand the charge, sir, and the maximum penalty?
Yes,
Okay, you have the right to be represented by counsel, and Mr. Nickel is here today for the purposes of your arraignment only. But you have the right to have an attorney with you to represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution. If you cannot afford to hire counsel, you can request to have court-appointed counsel to represent you at the expense of the public. Do you understand that, sir?
yes, ma'am.
Is he requesting court-appointed counsel?
He is requesting appointed counsel, Your Honor.
You have the right to remain silent, Mr. Miller. Anything you say, anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You have the right to plead not guilty, or you have the right to stand mute. You have the right to proceed to a trial in this matter, and you have the right to have a jury trial. At the time of trial, you have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to see, hear, or question any of the witnesses that the prosecution intends to call against you, and you have the right to call your own witnesses or present evidence at trial that you believe would further a defense. You have the right to remain silent at trial and not have silence be used to imply or prove that you're guilty. And you have the right to have the prosecution prove each element of the charge being brought against you, and they have to prove each element beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you have any questions about those rights?
No, ma'am.
For the purposes of his arraignment, is he pleading not guilty?
He is, Your Honor.
The court will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. Are you currently employed?
No, ma'am, I'm on disability. I've been on it all my life.
Okay. What's your home address, sir?
5312 South Waverly Road, Lansing, Michigan, 48911.
Okay, there's gonna be a no contact order issued if this, or if Dakota Burke lives there. Does Dakota Burke live there?
No, he does not. He lives with his papa
Okay.
last night.
You said he what?
He lives with his papa as of yesterday,
Okay.
just
Whose
after
name
this,
is on- Whose name is on the lease at 5213 South Waverly?
just mine.
Okay. And what's your phone number?
517-862-5908.
Okay, thank you. You're currently scheduled for a pre-trial conference before Judge Cynthia Ward on September 20th, 2022 at 10 o'clock in the morning. Did you get a copy of your notice to appear?
I believe so. Is it this purple notice right here?
Well, that's the Zoom instructions, because you can appear via Zoom or you can come in person. But there should be another notice that tells you which date to appear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Do you have any questions at this time?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I got 2 dogs at home right now. I know they ain't had no food in a minute. I'm anxious to get back to them.
Okay, you can address bond counsel.
Yes, I did have a chance to talk with Mr. Miller. As he noted, that address at 5312 South Waverly is his address alone. He's lived in Lansing his whole life. it looks like he does have a couple of prior criminal charges or convictions, but the last one appears to be 2005. So he does have, looks like about 17 years since his last entry in his criminal record. He's reports he's never failed to appear for court. I'd ask the court to release him on a PR bond at this time.
Okay, thank you. The court will grant the request for personal recognizance bond. Bond will be issued in the amount of $500 personal recognizance. While out on bond, there will be a no contact order protecting Dakota Burke. You're not to assault, harass, intimidate, beat, molest, wound, or threaten Dakota Burke. You're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever Dakota Burke lives, works, or goes to school. You're not to be in possession of a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You're not to use or possess alcohol or drugs unless you have a valid prescription. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. Do you have any questions about your bond conditions today?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
Nothing further for the record, Your Honor.
Okay, you're all set. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Your Honor.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right. Thanks.